The rain came down in sheets that Thursday afternoon, turning the narrow streets of Little Italy into rivers of gray. Iris Moreau stood beneath the awning of St. Augustine's Community Center, her white cane tapping a nervous rhythm against the wet pavement. She'd counted her steps from the bus stop, 243, but somewhere between the construction noise and the thunder, she'd lost her bearing. The world had gone dark 6 months ago. A stroke at 24, the doctor said. Rare, tragic, irreversible. She'd been a graphic designer before the darkness came. Her apartment had been full of color, canvases she'd painted on weekends, photographs from travels she'd saved years to afford, walls painted in shades of teal and coral that made her small studio feel alive. Now those colors existed only in memory, fading a little more each day like photographs left too long in sunlight. The darkness she could handle. It was everything else that came with it, the pitying voices, the suddenly distant friends, the job she'd lost because we need someone who can see the designs. You understand. That cut deeper than blindness ever could. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Could someone tell me which direction I'm facing?" No answer, just the hiss of rain and the distant growl of traffic. She tried again, louder this time. "Hello? I just need to know if I'm heading toward Mulberry Street or away from it." Footsteps approached, heavy, deliberate, multiple sets moving in formation. The air changed. Even without sight, Iris felt the shift, the kind of silence that isn't empty but full, crowded with held breath and unspoken warning. The smell changed too, expensive cologne mixing with cigarette smoke and something else. Cordite, maybe, or fear. "You should go home," a male voice said. Young, nervous, the kind of voice that belonged to someone who took orders and delivered them without question. "I'm trying to," Iris replied, lifting her chin. "That's why I'm asking for directions." "This street's closed," another voice added. Older, harder, scar tissue in the vocal cords like he'd been choked once and survived. "Private business." Iris's grip tightened on her cane. She'd heard that tone before, in the hospital when the neurologist delivered her diagnosis with clinical detachment, in her landlord's office when he suggested she find somewhere more manageable to live, in her mother's voice during that last phone call before the silence stretched into months, the tone that said, "You're a problem we'd rather not deal with." "I understand," she said quietly, keeping her voice level and polite. "But I still need to know which way is south. Please. That's all I'm asking." The footsteps retreated, whisper consultation happening just beyond her hearing. She caught fragments. "Boss. Waiting. Just some blind girl. Just some blind girl." Iris had heard variations of that phrase more times than she could count. Just some disabled woman. Just someone who can't see. Just a burden. Just someone to move aside, work around, forget. Then new footsteps, singular, measured, the click of expensive leather on wet concrete, each step deliberate and unhurried. The kind of walk that said, "I own this street, this block, this entire neighborhood." The temperature dropped. Iris didn't know how she knew, but she did. Whoever had just arrived carried weight, authority, the kind that bends rooms and stops conversations mid-sentence, the kind that makes grown men step back without being asked. "What's your name?" The voice was low, controlled, Mediterranean, each syllable deliberate, accent smoothed by expensive American education, but still present in the vowels, Italian maybe, or Greek, something old world in particular. "Iris Moreau." "Why are you here, Iris Moreau?" Not why are you here? Why are you here? Like her presence specifically was the question, not the general fact of a stranger on his street. "I volunteer at the community center. I teach Braille to children on Thursdays." She paused, rain beginning to soak through the shoulders of her jacket. "I got turned around in the rain. Lost my count somewhere between the construction and the thunder." Silence. Long enough that Iris wondered if he'd walked away. She'd learned that silence could mean many things since losing her sight. Sometimes it meant people had left without saying goodbye, uncomfortable with disability and uncertain how to exit gracefully. Sometimes it meant they were staring, trying to figure out if she was really blind or faking. Sometimes it meant they simply didn't know what to say. This silence felt different, evaluative, like he was seeing something in her that required careful consideration. "You teach blind children," he said finally. Not a question, a statement that somehow asked for confirmation anyway. "And some who are losing their sight progressively, I help them learn to read again." Iris shifted her weight, rain beginning to soak through her jacket. Cold water dripped down her collar. "It's important work. They need to know the darkness isn't the end, that life continues, that they can still learn, still create, still matter." More silence. Then a sound that might have been a sharp exhale. Surprise, maybe, or something else. "Marco, take her to Mulberry and Hester." "Boss," the young voice from before, uncertain now. "Now." The authority in that single word made Iris's spine straighten involuntarily. This wasn't a man accustomed to repetition. This wasn't someone whose orders were questioned twice. "Thank you," she said, angling her face toward where she thought he stood, trying to place him in space the way she'd learned. By sound, by the displacement of air, by instinct. "Don't thank me." His voice moved closer. She heard the rustle of expensive fabric, smelled tobacco and something crisp. Cedar, maybe. "Tell me something. The women who come to the street, they cry, they beg, they offer things they shouldn't offer. You ask for directions. Why?" Iris considered the question. The rain drummed harder, thunder rolling in the distance. Somewhere, a car alarm wailed and went silent. "Because I don't want mercy," she said carefully. "I want information. Those are different things. Mercy is something you give to someone powerless. Information is something you share between equals. I'm not powerless. I'm just temporarily disoriented." A sound that might have been a laugh, dark and brief. "Yes, they are different things. Very different." She heard the smile in those words. Not cruel, not mocking, something else. Appreciation, maybe. "Most people don't make that distinction," he continued. "Most people underestimate me because I can't see." Iris tilted her head. "They assume blind means helpless, means weak, means I need saving." She tightened her grip on her cane. "I don't need saving. I need accurate information so I can save myself." Another pause, longer this time. "Marco," the man said, voice different now, thoughtful. "Take Miss Moreau wherever she needs to go. Make sure she arrives safely." Footsteps retreated. A car door opened, engine purring to life. "Miss Moreau," the younger voice, Marco said, gentler now, respect where there had been dismissal before. "This way, please." Iris followed the voice, let Marco guide her hand to the car doorframe. Leather interior, expensive, the kind of car she'd never been in before losing her sight, and certainly not after. As she settled into the seat, she heard that other voice once more, closer than expected, just outside her open door. "You're wrong about one thing," he said quietly. "What's that?" "You're not temporarily disoriented. You're permanently adapted." A pause. "There's power in that. Don't forget it." The door closed. The car pulled away, and Iris sat in silence, those words echoing in her mind like a bell that wouldn't stop ringing. If you're already wondering who notices these things, who sees strength where everyone else sees limitation, you're exactly where you need to be. Iris didn't ask about the man, not in the car, not when Marco walked her to her building's entrance, with a hand hovering near her elbow, protective but not presumptuous, not when he handed her a business card, embossed with raised letters she could feel even if she couldn't read them. "If you're ever lost again," Marco said, and his voice carried weight now, instruction he'd been given. "Call this number. Someone will come. Always. I don't need—" "The boss insists, Miss Moreau. And when the boss insists—" Marco trailed off, letting her complete the thought herself. Iris tucked the card into her pocket, nodded her thanks, and made her way upstairs to her studio apartment. She moved through her evening routine by touch and memory, keys on the hook by the door, cane in the umbrella stand, wet jacket hung in the bathroom to dry, shoes lined up precisely by the door. Because displaced shoes meant morning chaos. She heated canned soup on the stove, counting seconds the way she'd learned, listening for the first bubble that meant ready. She ate standing at the counter, ran her fingers over the Braille books stacked beside her bed, lesson plans for next week's sessions, and tried to forget the way that man's voice had wrapped around her name like it meant something. Like she meant something. She lay in bed, lights off because darkness was darkness regardless, and replayed the encounter. The way the street had gone silent when he arrived. The way grown men had stepped back without argument. The way he'd said, "You're permanently adapted. There's power in that." No one had said anything like that to her since the stroke. Everyone else focused on what she'd lost. He'd focused on what she'd gained. Dante Volkov. She didn't know his name yet, but she would. 3 days later, Iris returned to St. Augustine's Community Center. Father Cristiano greeted her at the door, his usual warmth edged with something new. Caution, worry, the kind of careful tone people use when they knew something you didn't and weren't sure how to tell you. "Iris, welcome back. The children have been asking for you. Sophia's been practicing all week. She's so excited to show you her progress." "I missed last week's session because of the rain," she said, folding her cane with practiced efficiency. "I won't let it happen again. Is she here already?" She arrived early, very eager. He hesitated, and Iris heard the shift in his breathing. "I must ask, did something happen on Thursday? After you left? After the session ended?" Iris stilled, her hand frozen on the cane's folding mechanism. "I got lost in the rain. Someone gave me a ride home. Why? Did something happen?" Father Cristiano's exhale was heavy, burdened. "No, nothing happened. That's good. I'm glad someone helped you. Glad you're safe." But he didn't sound glad. He sounded worried. Deeply, profoundly worried. "Father," Iris said carefully, "what aren't you telling me?" "Nothing, child, nothing. Just..." His hand touched her shoulder briefly, paternal and protective. "Be careful who you accept help from in this neighborhood. Not everyone's intentions are pure. Not everyone who helps you is safe. The man who helped me was perfectly polite." "I'm sure he was." The priest's voice dropped. "But politeness and safety aren't the same thing, especially not here." Before Iris could press further, small footsteps thundered toward them. Miss Iris, you're here. I learned 3 new letters, and I can read cat and hat and mat all by myself now." Sophia's voice bubbled with 7-year-old enthusiasm, and whatever conversation they'd been having evaporated. The session went beautifully. 5 children, ages 7 to 12, fingers tracing the dots and valleys of Braille primers. Iris moved between them, her hands guiding theirs, her voice steady and encouraging. This was where she felt most solid, most certain. Here she wasn't the disabled woman who needed accommodation. She was the teacher who provided tools, the guide who'd walked the dark path first and could show others the way. "Feel the pattern, Sophia. 3 dots. That's the letter L. Now you try. Trace it with me." Sophia's small fingers traced the page, uncertain at first, then more confident. "L for light?" "Exactly." Iris smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. "L for light, for learn, for love, for all the beautiful things that still exist, even when we can't see them." "For lost," Marcus added from across the table, his 12-year-old voice already dropping into teenage register. "Yes, Marcus, also for lost." Iris's smile softened. "But being lost isn't permanent. It's just a moment, a pause. You always find your way again. Sometimes the path looks different than you expected, but you still move forward." "What if you can't find the path?" he asked, and she heard the real question underneath, the fear. Marcus was losing his sight to retinitis pigmentosa. In 2 years, maybe 3, he'd be completely blind. He was 12 and terrified and angry, and Braille lessons felt like surrendering to an enemy he wanted to fight. Then you make a new one, Iris said simply. You use your hands, your ears, your mind. You use tools like your cane, like Braille, like the people who care about you. You build a new path forward, Marcus. It won't look like the old one. It might not be the one you wanted, but it'll be yours, and you'll walk it, and you'll be okay. Silence. Then, how do you know? Because I did it, and if I can, you can. After the session, Iris gathered her things slowly, giving the children time to leave, giving herself time to transition from teacher mode back to regular blind woman navigating the world mode. It was exhausting, the constant switching, but necessary. Father Cristiano walked her to the door, his presence hovering. Iris, he said quietly, voice low enough that no one else could hear. The man who helped you, tall, dark suit, spoke like he was used to being obeyed instantly. Her pulse quickened. Yes, how did you... His name is Dante Volkov. The name settled in her chest like a stone dropping into deep water. Heavy, significant, permanent. He's... Father Cristiano chose his words with the care of a man who'd heard confessions for 30 years and knew which truths could hurt. Now, a man of significant influence in this neighborhood. Very significant influence. You mean he's dangerous? I mean he's complicated. The priest's hand touched her shoulder briefly, squeezed. Be careful, child. Men like that, they don't do kindness without reason. They don't help people without expecting something in return, even if they don't ask for it immediately. Everything is transaction. Everything is leverage. Iris nodded, but as she stepped into the cooling evening air, cane tapping out her path, she couldn't shake the memory of that voice, the way it hadn't softened or sweetened when addressing her, the way it had simply listened, really listened, not to her disability, but to her words. You're permanently adapted. There's power in that. No one who wanted to use her would have said something like that, would they? She encountered Dante Volkov again 2 weeks later, and this time there was nothing accidental about it. Iris had developed a route. Bus to corner store to community center to home. 243 steps, then 107, then 98. Predictable, safe, manageable. But predictable meant vulnerable, and she'd made the mistake of shopping after dark. The corner store owner, Mr. Huang, had always been kind. He'd learned to describe produce to her. These tomatoes are firm, deep red, no soft spots, and always told her when he moved items so she wouldn't be disoriented. Tonight, he was afraid. She heard it the moment she entered. His breathing was wrong, shallow, rapid. Miss Moreau, please. His voice shook. You need to leave. Now, right now. I just need milk and bread. Please, not tonight. Come back tomorrow. Different time. Just, please go. The bell above the door chimed before she could respond. 3 men entered. Iris didn't need sight to feel their intention. It radiated like heat from summer asphalt. Malicious, predatory, wrong. Huang, one said, voice slick with false friendliness. Mr. Caruso's patience is wearing thin. Very, very thin. I paid last week, Mr. Huang said, and Iris heard tears in his voice. I paid everything. Every dollar. On time. Rates went up, neighborhoods changing. Protection costs more when property values increase. Simple economics. I don't have more, Mr. Huang whispered. Please. My daughter's medical bills, the surgery. I've given everything. The crash of breaking glass made Iris flinch. Instinctively, she stepped back, putting the refrigerator case between herself and the sound. Her cane bumped against something, a display stand, boxes tumbling, and she froze, trying to be invisible. You'll find it, the man said, voice gone cold. Or we'll find other ways to collect. Your daughter's pretty. Real pretty. Shame if something happened to that face before her surgery. The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Mr. Huang made a sound, half sob, half whimper. Iris's hands shook on her cane. She should run, should leave, should be anywhere but here. But her feet wouldn't move, and Mr. Huang had been kind to her every single week for months, and she couldn't just... That's enough. The voice came from the doorway. Dante Volkov. Iris recognized the controlled authority immediately. The way temperature itself seemed to respond to his presence. The store went silent. Volkov. The name came out strangled from the man who'd been threatening Mr. Huang. We didn't know. This is Caruso territory now. The old agreements don't... No, Dante said quietly, and somehow quiet was more terrifying than shouting. It isn't, and they do. Mr. Caruso said, I don't care what Caruso said. I care what I'm saying. This store is under my protection. It has been for 8 years. That hasn't changed. Won't change. Leave. You can't just... I can. I am. Leave now, or Marco will ensure you leave in pieces. Your choice. Make it quickly. Silence. Then rapid footsteps. Scrambling. The bell chimed frantically. The door slammed. Iris's heart hammered against her ribs so hard she thought it might crack them. Mr. Huang, Dante's voice continued, closer now, but still controlled. Calm. Like he'd just discussed the weather instead of issuing death threats. The damage will be repaired tomorrow. Send the bill to Marco. The protection fee is canceled permanently. You pay nothing to anyone. Understood? Yes, Mr. Volkov. Thank you, Mr. Volkov. God bless you, Mr. Volkov. Keep the store open. This neighborhood needs honest businesses. A pause. Miss Moreau, you shop in dangerous hours. She turned toward his voice, trying to steady her breathing. I didn't realize I needed permission to buy groceries. You don't. Footsteps approached, measured and deliberate. But you should know that Vincent Caruso doesn't respect schedules or innocence. He sees opportunity, he takes it. Doesn't matter if you're blind, elderly, children. Weakness is opportunity in his world. And you're different? The words came out sharper than she intended, adrenaline making her bold. Yes. The certainty in that single syllable made her breath catch. How? She asked, gentler now. I remember who I am. Dante's voice lowered, and she heard something in it, something old and painful. And who I'm not. Caruso forgot. Thinks being feared means being powerful. Thinks cruelty equals strength. He's wrong, and it'll cost him everything. Iris heard Mr. Huang sweeping glass behind the counter, heard the rustle of bills being placed somewhere. Cash. A lot of it, from the sound. This covers tonight and the next 6 months, Dante told the shopkeeper. No one touches this store. No one asks for payments. No one even looks at you wrong. If anyone tries, you call Marco immediately, day or night. Understood? Yes, Mr. Volkov. Thank you. Thank you so much. Then to Iris, voice shifting to something almost gentle. I'll take you home. I can manage. I know you can. Something shifted in his tone. Almost soft. But it's raining again, and you hate being lost. How did he remember that? How did he remember anything about her from one brief encounter 2 weeks ago? I don't want to be an inconvenience, she said carefully. You're not. You're the opposite. He paused. You're the woman who asked for directions when everyone else was begging for mercy. I remember people like that. They're rare. The car was quiet luxury, leather seats worn soft with use, classical music playing low from speakers she couldn't see. Chopin, she thought, nocturne in E-flat major. Her father used to play it on Sunday mornings. Iris sat rigid in the passenger seat, cane across her lap, acutely aware of the man beside her. She could smell his cologne now, cedar and tobacco and something darker. Could hear his breathing, steady and controlled. Could feel the weight of his attention even though she couldn't see his eyes. You're afraid? Dante observed. Not a question, a statement of fact. I'm cautious. Good. The car turned smoothly, suspension absorbing the rough pavement with expensive efficiency. Fear makes people stupid. Panic makes them predictable. Caution keeps them alive. Is that why everyone's afraid of you? Yes. His honesty caught her off guard. She'd expected deflection, maybe charm, certainly not this blunt acknowledgement. Why aren't you afraid of me? He asked, and she heard genuine curiosity in the question. Iris considered carefully. Rain drummed against the windows. The classical music swelled and faded. Somewhere outside, a siren wailed past. Because you haven't given me reason to be, she said finally. You gave me directions when I was lost. You stopped those men tonight. You're taking me home. You've been nothing but... She searched for the right word. Respectful. Fear needs evidence. I don't have any yet. Yet, he repeated, and she heard something like amusement in his voice. Dark humor. Self-awareness. I'm not naive, Mr. Volkov. I know what you are. What you do. Do you? Father Cristiano told me. A man of significant influence. Complicated. Iris turned her face toward him, toward where she thought his face would be. That's priest speak for dangerous criminal. The car slowed, stopped. Her building. She recognized the sounds. The bodega on the corner with its late-night customers. The subway rumble 2 blocks over. The specific echo of her street. Your priest is diplomatic, Dante said, and she heard the smile in it. But yes, I'm exactly what you think I am. Exactly what Father Cristiano warned you about. Then why help me? Why help Mr. Huang? Silence stretched. The engine idled, a low purr. The rain continued its steady percussion. Because you asked for directions, he said finally, quietly. Not mercy, not money, not protection, just information. His voice dropped. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how many people approach me every single day? Hundreds. Thousands. They all want something, power, favor, forgiveness. They grovel and scheme and lie and manipulate. They cry and beg and offer themselves like commodities. He paused, and she heard him shift, turning toward her. You just wanted to know which way was south, that's all. Simple information so you could find your own way home. Another pause. It was clarifying, refreshing, like cold water after years of drinking poison. Iris's throat tightened. I'm sorry, she said softly. That sounds incredibly lonely. The silence that followed felt enormous, cavernous, like she'd said something that cut deeper than she'd intended, struck something true and painful. Marco will walk you up, Dante said finally. Voice carefully neutral again, walls rebuilt. Thank you. Iris reached for the door handle, then stopped. Mr. Volkov, can I ask you something? Yes. Why did you really stop those men tonight? The truth. Another pause. Because Caruso's methods are sloppy, bad for business, creates chaos, makes the neighborhood unstable. That's not why. No, he admitted after a moment, and she heard the honesty cost him something. It's not. Then why? Because you were there. His voice went quiet. And I don't let people hurt what's in my protection. I'm not in your protection. Yes, Dante said simply. You are. You have been since the moment you asked me for directions instead of mercy, whether you know it or not. The door opened. Marco appeared, offering his hand. Iris took it, let him guide her out, felt the rain on her face. As Marco walked her to her building entrance, she heard the car window lower behind them. Miss Moreau, Dante called. She turned back. Same time next Thursday? The community center? Her heart did something complicated in her chest. I'll be there. I'm always there on Thursdays. Good, so will I. The window rose. The car pulled away, and Iris stood in the rain, Marco's patient presence beside her, wondering what exactly she'd just agreed to. The flowers arrived on Tuesday morning. 3 dozen white roses, Vivian Chen told her. Vivian, her former co-worker from the graphic design firm, still visited every week, despite Iris's insistence that she didn't need checking up on. Jesus Christ, Iris! There are literally 3 dozen white roses here. Long-stemmed. Absolutely gorgeous. These cost a fortune. Like More than my rent, probably. Vivian's voice went high with excitement. Who sent these? I don't know. There's a card, embossed, expensive stock. Want me to read it? Please. Vivian cleared her throat dramatically. For teaching children that darkness isn't the end. For showing me it isn't either. DV. Iris's hand stilled on the Braille book she'd been reading, preparing next week's lesson plan. DV? Vivian's voice sharpened with curiosity. Who's DV? Someone I met. Someone who sends 36 white roses? Iris, that's not casual. White roses mean reverence, respect, remembrance, new beginnings. This is... Vivian trailed off. Then her voice changed completely. Oh my God. Oh my God. Are you dating someone? No, absolutely not. But you know someone. Someone with enough money to send roses that cost more than my monthly student loan payment. Who is he? Iris told her. Not everything. She didn't know everything herself, but enough. The rain, the directions, the confrontation at Mr. Huang's store, the rides home. Vivian's silence grew heavier with each detail, transforming from excited curiosity to deep concern. Iris, she said finally, voice gone serious, you need to be extremely careful. Everyone keeps saying that, because it's true. Men like that, they're black holes. They pull you in with gravity and kindness and intensity, and you don't escape. You can't escape. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not being pulled anywhere. He's just helped me a few times. Why? That was the question, wasn't it? The one that kept Iris awake at night, tracing the embossed card Marco had given her, feeling the raised letters spell out something she couldn't read, but could sense was important. I don't know, Iris admitted. Find out, before you're in too deep. Vivian's hand found hers, squeezed. I love you, and I don't want to see you hurt. Men like that, they don't have normal relationships. They have possessions, transactions, leverage. He's not like that. How do you know? Because... Iris struggled to articulate it. Because he talks to me like I'm a person, not a disabled person, not someone to pity or protect or save, just a person. Someone whose opinion matters, whose work matters, who matters. Oh, Iris. Vivian's voice softened. You deserve so much better than the bare minimum of being treated like a human being. Maybe. But it's more than most people have given me since the stroke. And that, Iris knew, was the problem, the real danger. Not Dante Volkov's violence or power or criminal empire, but the fact that he saw her, really saw her, blind eyes and all. That was far more dangerous than any threat he could make. Thursday came. Iris arrived at St. Augustine's early, nervous in a way she couldn't quite name. Her students arrived, Sophia bouncing with energy, Marcus sullen and resistant as always, 3 other children in various stages of sight loss. Halfway through the session, she heard the door open, felt the temperature shift, knew without being told that Dante Volkov had arrived. He didn't interrupt, didn't speak, just sat somewhere in the back of the room. She could hear the creak of a folding chair, could sense his attention like sunlight through a window. It made her hyper-aware of everything, her voice, her movements, the way she guided small hands across Braille pages. She pushed through, focusing on the children, refusing to perform or alter anything because of his presence. After the session ended, after the children left with parents or caregivers, after Father Cristiano made himself scarce with obvious deliberateness, Dante approached. "You're good at this," he said. "Thank you." That wasn't a compliment. It was an observation. He moved closer. "You give them more than Braille. You give them hope, dignity, future. That's rare. It's necessary. They're children facing something terrifying. They need to know they'll survive it." Will they? If they choose to. If they build the skills and ask for help and keep walking forward. Iris folded her cane with practiced efficiency. Survival is always a choice, Mr. Volkov. Even when it doesn't feel like one, Dante, please. We're past formalities now, I think. Are we? You're in my protection. I sent you flowers. We're well past formalities, Iris. The way he said her name, like it meant something, like he'd thought about it, rolled it around in his mind before speaking it aloud, made something warm unfurl in her chest. About the flowers, she began. You disapprove? I don't understand them. Their gratitude. For what? Dante was quiet for a moment. She heard him shift weight, fabric rustling. Expensive suit, tailored perfectly. She'd bet anything. For reminding me why I started this, he said finally. The protection, the control, the empire. I built it to protect my neighborhood, my people. Somewhere along the way, it became about power for power's sake. Control because control is all I knew. He paused. Then you asked for directions, and I remembered. The point isn't to be feared. It's to create space where people like you can teach, and Mr. Huang can sell groceries, and children can learn without terror. That's a lot of weight to put on one question about which way is south. Yes, it is. She heard the smile in his voice. But accurate nonetheless. Iris bit her lip, considering. Dante? Yes? Why are you really here, today, in my classroom, watching me teach? Because I want to understand you, what you do, who you are. Why does that matter? Because people in my world are transactions, leverage, assets. You're not, and I don't know what to do with that. His voice dropped, went rough. I don't know what to do with someone who wants nothing from me except basic human decency. The honesty in that admission made Iris's chest ache. Maybe that's exactly what you need, she said softly. Someone who doesn't want anything except your company. Is that what you want? My company? Iris turned fully toward him, toward where his voice originated from. I don't know yet, but I'd like to find out. Silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable but full, heavy with possibility. There's something else, Dante said finally. Another reason I'm here. I need to ask you something, a favor. What kind of favor? The kind that might hurt. His voice went careful. My brother, Alexander. He's 17, smart, angry, talented, going blind. The words hit Iris like a physical blow. Retinitis pigmentosa, Dante continued. Progressive, irreversible, degenerative. He's losing his peripheral vision now. In 5 years, maybe less, he'll be completely blind. Night blindness already makes him functionally sightless after dark. Iris's hands tightened on her cane. He's furious, Dante said, and pain threaded through every word. Destructive, breaking things, picking fights, refusing to prepare. He thinks... His voice roughened, broke slightly. He thinks it makes him weak, useless, broken. He told me 2 weeks ago he'd rather die than be blind, rather end it than face the darkness. Oh God, Iris whispered, I can't reach him. Nothing I say matters. He looks at me and sees the brother who has everything, sight, power, control, future. He can't hear me. Dante moved closer. But maybe he could hear you. Maybe if he met someone who survived the darkness and built a life worth living, someone young and strong and capable, maybe he'd believe it's possible. You want me to talk to him? I want you to show him it's not the end. Desperation crept into Dante's controlled voice. You teach children who are losing their sight. You help them find their way. Alexander needs that more than anything I can give him. He needs to see someone who's rebuilt. Someone who's more than their disability. I don't know if my life qualifies. You teach. You volunteer. You navigate the city alone. You face men like Vincent Caruso without trembling. Face men like me without flinching. His voice turned fierce, almost angry with conviction. You're stronger than anyone I know, including me, especially me. If Alexander could see that, could understand that blindness doesn't mean weakness. He trailed off. Iris heard him breathe, heard the control reasserting itself. I'm asking, Dante said quietly. Not demanding, not leveraging, asking. Will you meet him? Talk to him? Show him there's a path forward? Iris felt tears prick her useless eyes. No one had ever said that to her. That she was strong. That she mattered. That her life was evidence of possibility rather than tragedy. Yes, she whispered. Of course. Yes, when? Saturday, if you're willing. I'll send Marco to collect you. Okay, Saturday. She heard Dante's exhale, the relief palpable. Thank you, Iris Moreau. Thank you. And for the first time since losing her sight, Iris felt like the darkness had given her something instead of just taking. When protection becomes something more, when strength recognizes strength, some connections can't be planned. They just are. Saturday arrived cold and gray. Marco collected Iris at noon, drove her somewhere upscale. She could tell by the silence, the space between buildings, the smell of money. Dante met her at the door. Thank you for coming. He's resistant, defensive. Don't take it personally. I won't. Alexander was in what Dante called the library. Iris heard the echo, smelled old books and leather. The boy's footsteps were wrong, unsteady, overcompensating for peripheral vision loss, bumping into things he couldn't see at the edges. This is stupid, Alexander said immediately, voice sharp with teenage fury. I'm not some charity case who needs inspiring speeches from strangers. Good, Iris said calmly, not moving from where Marco had left her, because I'm not here to inspire you. Your brother asked me to meet you. I said yes. That's all this is. Why? Because when I was freshly blind and angry, I would have given anything to meet someone who'd survived it. Someone who could tell me the truth. What truth? That it's awful, terrifying, that you'll spend months grieving your sight like you've lost a limb, that people will treat you differently, pity you, underestimate you, dismiss you. Iris's voice stayed level. And that eventually, you'll adapt anyway. You'll find new ways to do things. You'll discover strength you didn't know you had. You'll build a life that's different than you planned, but still worth living. I don't want a different life. I want my sight back. So did I. Didn't happen. Still doesn't happen. So I learned to live without it. Good for you. Venom dripped from every syllable. Dante's voice came low, dangerous from somewhere nearby. Alexander? It's fine, Iris interrupted. She turned toward the boy, toward where fury radiated like heat. You're angry. I understand. But here's what I know. You can spend the next 5 years screaming at the inevitable, or you can spend them preparing. That's your choice. The only one that actually matters. Some choice. It's the only one any of us get. I can't choose to see again. You can't choose to keep your sight. But we can choose how we face what's coming. Iris took a step forward, cane tapping. I chose to learn Braille, to master a cane, to rebuild my independence piece by piece. What will you choose? Why should I choose anything? What's the point? The point, Iris said quietly, is that your brother loves you desperately. The point is that there are people who need you whole, not broken. The point is that sight loss doesn't have to mean life loss. Silence, heavy and hostile. Then Alexander's voice, small and scared under the anger. How did you do it? Stop being terrified? And there it was, the real question under all the fury. I didn't, Iris admitted. I'm still terrified sometimes. When I get lost. When something changes and I can't adapt fast enough. When people treat me like I'm stupid because I can't see. She paused. But terror doesn't stop me anymore. I feel it, acknowledge it, and keep moving anyway. That sounds exhausting. It is. At first. Then it becomes normal. Then it becomes powerful. Terror that doesn't stop you makes you unstoppable. More silence, but different now. Thoughtful instead of angry. I don't know if I can do this, Alexander whispered. You can't. Not yet. But you will. Iris shifted her cane. I'm going to teach your brother's Thursday class at St. Augustine's. You're welcome to attend. Learn Braille, learn cane techniques, learn from kids who are walking this path right now. I'm not some kid. No, you're 17 and facing something that would break most adults. You're allowed to be scared, angry, resistant. Iris's voice gentled. But eventually, you'll need skills. When you're ready, I'll teach you. No pressure, no judgment, just tools. Footsteps, running. A door slammed somewhere in the vast apartment. Dante's presence approached. I'm sorry. Don't be. He'll come back. How do you know? Because he asked the real question. How did you do it? That means he's considering doing it too. Fear makes you ask. Readiness makes you learn. Iris turned toward Dante's voice. Give him time. He'll come when he's ready. Dante's hand touched her shoulder. Brief, warm, trembling slightly. Thank you. For trying. For seeing past his anger. I was exactly that angry 6 months ago. I recognize it. What changed? I decided survival was better than surrender. Iris paused. And someone told me I was strong enough to survive. That changed everything. Who told you that? You did, when you said I was permanently adapted, that there was power in it. Dante's hand slid from her shoulder to her hand, warm and careful. I meant every word. Alexander came to Thursday's session 3 weeks later. Hostile and defensive, yes, but present. He sat in the back, arms crossed, radiating teenage disdain for everything. But he stayed, the whole session, and the next, and the one after that. By week 4, he was participating, learning Braille basics, practicing cane techniques, still angry, still resistant, but adapting anyway. Dante attended every session, watching from the back with an intensity that made Iris hyper-aware of his presence. She tried to ignore it, to focus on her students, but her body knew where he sat, tracked his movements, responded to his attention like a plant turning toward sun. After the 6th week, Dante walked her home. They'd fallen into a pattern. Marco drove them both. Dante walked her to her door. They talked for a few minutes before he left. Tonight felt different, charged, something building between them like atmospheric pressure before a storm. He's changing, Dante said as they stood outside her building. Alexander. Because of you. He's changing because he decided to, Iris corrected. I'm just the guide. You're more than that. Dante's voice dropped. To him. To me. Iris's heart stuttered, stumbled. Dante, I need to tell you something. His hand found hers, warm and careful. And I need you to understand what I'm saying because I'm not good at this. At feelings. At anything that isn't strategy and control. Okay, she whispered. Before I met you, I hadn't felt human in years. I was a weapon, a machine. I made decisions that kept people alive or got them killed, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no joy, no connection, just emptiness. He paused, and she felt his thumb trace her knuckles. Then you asked me for directions, and something woke up. Something I thought I'd killed years ago. What woke up? The part of me that cares, that wants something beyond power, that remembers why I built this empire in the first place. His other hand touched her face, gentle as rain. You looked at me with blind eyes and saw clearer than anyone has in a decade. You saw a man, not a monster, someone worth basic human decency, someone who could protect without demanding payment. Iris's breath shook. You are worth that. You are. I don't know if I believe that yet, but when you say it, I almost do. Dante's forehead rested against hers. I'm falling for you, Iris Moreau. Completely, irrevocably, and I don't know what to do about it. I'm blind, Dante. Ordinary, broken. You're none of those things. You're extraordinary. You teach children to read in darkness. You rebuild lives. You face danger without flinching. His voice went fierce. And you're not broken. You're rebuilt, adapted, stronger than you were before. There's a difference. Tears slid down Iris's cheeks, hot and unexpected. I'm dangerous, Dante continued, softer now. My world is violent. Being close to me puts you at risk. Vincent Caruso and men like him, they look for weakness, and you would be seen as my greatest weakness. I know. And you're still here? I'm still here. Why? Iris turned her palm up, threading her fingers through his. Because I'm falling for you too. Because you see me, really see me in a way no one else has. Because you make me feel brave and valued and possible. She paused. Because I thought I'd gone numb after the stroke, and you made me feel again. Dante's breath shuddered against her skin. I can't promise you normal, he said. Can't promise you safe. Can't promise you anything except that I will protect you with everything I have. That you'll never face danger alone. That I'll move heaven and earth to keep you whole. I don't want normal. I don't want safe. Iris lifted her other hand, found his face, traced features she couldn't see but could feel. I want real. I want you. However that works. It works, Dante said, voice rough with emotion. Like this. He kissed her. Gentle at first, asking permission with pressure and breath, then deeper when she responded, when her hands fisted in his jacket and pulled him closer, when her mouth opened under his and welcomed him in. It was terrifying and perfect and inevitable, like falling and landing somewhere soft, like darkness that didn't feel empty anymore. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante pressed his forehead to hers again. This changes everything, he whispered. I know. People will come after you, use you to get to me. I know. You'll need protection, constant vigilance. Your independence will adapt. Iris smiled against his mouth. I'm good at adapting, remember? Permanently adapted. There's power in that. Dante laughed, actually laughed, the sound warm and genuine and beautiful, using my own words against me. You said I was strong enough. I'm proving you right. Yes, you are. He kissed her again, briefer this time. Stay here, tomorrow. Marco will bring you a phone. Security measures, instructions. This isn't romantic, Iris. This is survival. I understand. Do you? Yes. And I'm choosing it anyway. Choosing you anyway. Dante held her like she was precious and breakable, which she wasn't, but she let him anyway because it felt good to be held, to be cherished, to matter to someone beyond utility. Go inside, he said, finally. Lock your door. Call me when you're safe. Dante? Yes? Thank you. For seeing me. For letting me see you. Thank you for asking for directions instead of mercy. For changing everything. The threat came 6 weeks later, exactly as Dante had predicted. Vincent Caruso, humiliated by Dante's continued protection of neighborhood businesses and furious at his eroding territory, decided to strike where Dante was vulnerable. Iris had just finished her Thursday session, had said goodbye to the children, was gathering her things when it happened. Fast, professional, brutal, a cloth over her mouth, chemical sweetness flooding her nose, her lungs. She tried to fight, tried to scream, but darkness swallowed darkness, and she knew nothing. She woke in a cold room, hands zip-tied to a metal chair. No cane, no phone, no Marco. Just the drip of water somewhere distant and the echo that meant warehouse space. Awake. Good. Vincent Caruso's voice slick with satisfaction. The great Dante Volkov, brought low by a blind girl. Fucking poetic, that's what it is. Iris said nothing. Tested her bonds. Focused on sounds, dripping water, distant traffic, echo suggesting high ceiling and concrete floor. Warehouse. Near the river, from the smell. Industrial area. She built a mental map, categorized information, prepared. He'll come for you, Caruso continued, footsteps circling her. Can't help himself. You're his weakness, his soft spot. And when he does, I'll have him exactly where I want him. 20 men, 20 guns. He walks through that door, he's dead. You're using me as bait. Smart girl. Wasted on Volkov, but smart. Iris's mind raced. Dante would come. She knew he would. And Caruso would be ready. 20 men. 20 guns. She needed to change the math. Needed to give Dante an advantage. Needed to be more than bait. He'll kill you, she said quietly. Caruso laughed, sharp and ugly. He can try. Won't help him. Not immediately. Later. After. Iris lifted her chin. You think this ends when you shoot him? It doesn't. His people are loyal. Marco, Alexander, the entire organization. You kill Dante, you inherit war. Permanent war. Every single person who loved him will come for you. One by one. Patient, methodical, unstoppable. I'll handle it. No, you won't. Because you don't inspire loyalty, Caruso. You inspire fear. And fear breaks the moment you show weakness. The second Dante's people smell blood, they'll tear you apart. Tough words from a helpless woman tied to a chair. Iris smiled, cold and certain. I'm not helpless. I'm blind. There's a difference. And I'm not tied to this chair because I'm weak. I'm tied to this chair because you know if I weren't, I'd be dangerous. Silence. Then Caruso slapped hard enough to snap her head sideways. Copper flooded her mouth. Her cheek burned. Keep talking. See where it gets you. Iris spat blood. It gets me here. Right here. Making you angry, making you scared. Because you know I'm right. You killed Dante, you die. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. Violently. Alone. Caruso's breathing changed. Faster. Angry. Good. Angry people made mistakes. Then the temperature dropped. Dante had arrived. Iris heard it. The sudden silence. The scramble of feet. The cold fury that preceded him like winter fog. Caruso. Dante's voice was death itself. Controlled. Quiet. Absolutely lethal. You made a mistake. I made a move. You touched what's mine. The violence was swift. Brutal. Efficient. Iris heard it, but didn't see it. Gunfire, breaking bones, screams cut short. She counted shots. 18, 19, 20. Silence. Then Dante's hands, warm and shaking, cutting her bonds. Iris. God, Iris, are you hurt? Just my face, my cheek. Her hands found his, gripped tight. You came. Of course I came. He pulled her close, his heart hammering against her ear like it wanted to break through his ribs. I'll always come for you. Always. I knew you would. That's why I wasn't afraid. Dante's breath shuddered. You should have been terrified. I was. But not of dying. Iris pulled back, her hands finding his face, tracing features she knew now by touch better than most people knew faces by sight. Of you dying. Of losing this before we really started. Of living in darkness without you. His hands covered hers, pressed them against his face. You won't lose me. I promise. I swear. Whatever it takes. Don't make promises you can't keep. I keep all my promises, Iris Moreau. Dante's voice turned fierce, absolute. Every single one. You're mine now. Mine to protect. Mine to keep safe. Mine to love. And nothing, no one will touch you again. Do you understand? Yes. Say it. Say you understand. I understand. I'm yours. You're mine. We protect each other. Yes. Exactly. He kissed her then, hard and desperate and full of relief and terror and love. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante lifted her into his arms. Marco, clean this. All of it. I want no trace. Yes, boss. And spread the word. Anyone who touches her, thinks about touching her, looks at her wrong. They answer to me. Personally. Understood. Dante carried Iris out into cold night air, into a waiting car, into safety. I'm moving you, he said as the car started. Tonight? Into my building. Top floor security, guards, everything. Dante? No arguments. Your independence matters, Iris. I know that. I respect that. But your life matters more. To me, to Alexander, to those children you teach. You stay safe or I lose my mind. Iris wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle herself. but her hands were still shaking, and Caruso's words still echoed in her skull, and Dante's heart still raced against her ear. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." The aftermath was quieter than she expected. Caruso's death sent ripples through the criminal underworld. His organization collapsed. His territory reverted. Other families circled like sharks, but none challenged Dante directly. The message was clear. Dante Volkov protected what was his. Absolutely. Lethally. Permanently. Iris moved into the penthouse. It took adjustment, learning new spaces, new routes, new sounds. But Dante had the entire apartment modified. Braille labels, textured markers, voice-activated everything. He'd hired a specialist to make the space accessible without making it obvious. "I don't want you to feel disabled in your own home," he'd said. "I want you to feel free." Alexander progressed beautifully. His Braille reading was fluent now. His cane techniques white solid. He'd stopped fighting his future and started preparing for it. He and Iris developed an easy rapport. Teacher and student, then something closer to siblings. "You're good for my brother," Alexander said one afternoon, 3 months after the kidnapping. They were in the library, him practicing Braille while she prepared lesson plans. "He smiles now, laughs. I didn't think he remembered how." Iris felt warmth bloom in her chest. "He's good for me, too." "How?" "He makes me feel brave, valued, possible. Like blindness isn't the end of my story, just a chapter." "You are brave. You saved yourself when Caruso took you. Dante told me. How you got in his head, made him angry, gave Dante advantages. I did what I had to. That's bravery." Alexander's hand found hers briefly. "Thank you. For teaching me. For showing me blindness isn't death. For saving my brother from himself." "He saved himself. I just reminded him who he was." "Same thing." Maybe it was. 6 months after that first rainy afternoon, Iris stood in Dante's penthouse, hands tracing the floor-to-ceiling windows she couldn't see but could feel. The space, the quiet, the safety. "What are you thinking?" Dante asked, coming up behind her, arms wrapping around her waist. "That I spent 6 months being angry I couldn't see," Iris said softly. "And now I'm grateful for what I can feel instead. What I've built. Who I've become." Dante's arms tightened. "And what do you feel?" "Safe. Seen. Cherished. Less alone." She turned in his embrace, hands finding his face. "What about you? What do you feel?" "Human," he said simply, and she heard the wonder in it. "For the first time in years, I feel human. Not a weapon, not a machine, not a monster, just a man who loves a woman who sees him clearly despite being blind." Iris smiled. "Because I asked for directions instead of mercy? Because you saw me when everyone else saw power. You looked at me with blind eyes and saw clearer than anyone ever has." Dante's hands framed her face, gentle and reverent. "You saw someone worth saving, worth loving, worth rebuilding humanity for. You saved me first." "No." Dante kissed her forehead, soft as breath. "You saved yourself. You rebuilt yourself piece by piece from nothing. You turned blindness into strength. You just let me walk beside you while you did it. Let me protect you while you protected others. Let me love you while you taught me how to be human again." Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, 2 people who'd learned to survive, the dark found light in each other. Not dramatic, not perfect, but real, permanent, true, built on choice and strength and the quiet certainty that some collisions change everything. Iris had asked for directions once, on a rainy afternoon when she'd lost her way, and Dante Volkov, who'd spent years lost in his own darkness, had finally found his path home. Together they walked forward, not into fantasy or fairy tale, but into something better, something real, a future built on mutual respect, fierce protection, and the understanding that strength comes in many forms. The darkness hadn't ended, but it no longer defined them, and that made all the difference. Weeks turned to months, months became routines. Dante continued his work, but different now, more focused on protection than power. more interested in building community than controlling territory. Iris kept teaching, kept volunteering, kept showing children that blindness wasn't the end. They built a life together in the spaces between danger and domesticity. Morning coffee, where Dante described the sunrise to Iris in detail. Evening walks where she taught him to navigate by sound. Late nights where they talked about futures and possibilities and the strange, beautiful collision that had brought them together. "I never believed in fate," Dante said one night, lying in bed with Iris in his arms. "Thought everything was choice and consequence, control and chaos. And now I think maybe some things are meant to happen. You, me, that rainy afternoon. If you'd turned left instead of right, asked someone else instead of me, walked a different path." He trailed off. "But I didn't. I turned right. I asked you. I walked toward you instead of away." Iris's fingers traced patterns on his chest. "And you answered. You could have ignored me, could have had someone else handle it, could have driven past. I couldn't. Something about you, the way you stood there, rain-soaked and lost, but not afraid. The way you asked for information instead of rescue. The way you held your head high like blindness was an inconvenience, not a tragedy." Dante's hand found hers, pressed it over his heart. "I knew in that moment, didn't understand it yet, but I knew you were important, that you'd change everything. And I did, and you did." He kissed her temple. "You made me human again. Made me remember why any of this matters. Gave me something to protect that actually deserves protecting. I'm not. Yes, you are. You're extraordinary, Iris Moreau, and I love you. Completely, permanently, irrevocably." The words settled into Iris's chest like warmth, like home. "I love you too," she whispered. "My seeing-eye criminal, my dangerous protector, my home." Dante laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "Seeing-eye criminal? I like that." "Good. Because you're stuck with it, with me, with all of this." "Good." Dante pulled her closer. "Because I'm not letting go. Not ever." And he didn't. They built their life together, messy and complicated and sometimes dangerous, but always real, always honest, always worth it. Iris kept teaching, kept changing lives, kept showing children that darkness wasn't the end. Dante kept protecting, kept building, kept learning how to be human from the woman who saw him clearest. Alexander went to college, studied law, decided he'd become an advocate for disability rights. "Because you showed me it's not a limitation," he told Iris. "It's a perspective, a strength, a different way of seeing the world." The neighborhood flourished under Dante's protection. Businesses thrived, children played safely, elderly residents walked without fear. The violence didn't disappear. This was still the criminal underworld, but it became controlled, purposeful, protective rather than predatory. And every Thursday, Dante still attended Iris's classes, still sat in the back and watched her teach, still marveled at the way she turned trauma into triumph, darkness into strength. "Why do you still come?" she asked him one day. "You've seen this 100 times." "Because I never get tired of watching you be extraordinary, of seeing you change lives, of remembering that I get to be part of your world." Dante's hand found hers. "Because you asked for directions, and I found my way home." Iris smiled, squeezed his hand. "Best wrong turn I ever made. Best right turn I ever made." And it was.